well as...
Well, the good news then for your average person though is they don't have to have one of those funky houses. They can have a neighborhood house like you have here, and yet still be long range, sustainable, low energy consumption. Because eventually, I think the real green thing for today for the average person is energy savings. If I can spend less money on this house, I'll actually give you more money for the house because it would cost me less down the road. Is that where you're kind of leading with this?
Well, absolutely. It's the long-term use of the end user. Green applies to a lot of different technologies and uses, but I think the one green thing that people look at the most when they buy a home is the color of their money. And they don't want to see it going out to the utility companies and things of that nature when it can be used for other things in their life.
Well, sure.
So much of our disposable income is being used now, and even some of our essential income is being used now for energy, whereas it wasn't before.
Sure. Well, that's what people are finding as a pinch now, is more money is going to energy, and we're having to make those big choices now. It's like we have to find something that's going to save us money. Should we invest in a new refrigerator, for instance, that's going to be lower cost down the road? Exactly. Or scrap in the house we live in because this energy pig is costing us too much money.
Right.
So that's really the hope for the future, really, is that not just you, but other builders as well will incorporate so-called green, but really positive, smart thinking when it comes to building energy-efficient structures.
And particularly for the newer, more sophisticated or knowledgeable home buyers, the younger group that are now qualifying for mortgages, they look at things like this. It used to be you wanted just nothing but curb appeal. I like the area, I like the school. We're going to have kids eventually.
Sure.
And what's it going to be like? What are our neighbors like? Who are they? What are they? What do they do? Are they in the service corps? Are they white collar? Things that everyone takes into consideration when you buy a home. But in the long term, you have to look at what am I making and what am I spending? Are we going to be able to just live in this house, or are we going to be able to live as a family, be able to grow? Are we going to be able to get new, more efficient cars? Or are we going to be caught in that catch-22 where we're always handing them out? And that even happens in the white collar area.
Oh, definitely.
Absolutely.
Well, they're even being squeezed more because they're the first ones to go. Usually when there's a downsizing, they're usually seen as a high expense, and geez, how can we replace that person? And things were riding high for so long, and suddenly, sure, the carpet's been pulled out, if you will.
And we spoke a few moments ago before we were on tape about downsizing and right-sizing. And corporations do it to protect the bottom line. And politically, it's not a favorable choice for anybody to make to let people go. The same thing happens in housing. You have to make the right sizing or downsizing choice of a more energy-efficient house that you can afford in the long term, not only just the present. Sometimes you've got to eat it for a little while.
Sure.
So that in the long run, you do have the advantage monetarily.
But there's your sustainability. So it's not about a number of gable points necessarily in the house.
Yep.
It's on the integrity of the shell, if you will.
Right.
Much like what you're integrating into this house here. And that the people who own it won't be caught, if you will, with a high-cost monster, the money pit, if you will.
Yep.
That ends up being something that's going to hurt them. They can actually buy this house into retirement and not have a high-cost platform, if you will.
They can do that, or take the other avenue that a lot of people do, is just either add on to it and expand. They'll be able to afford to expand, or they can turn the house over and go to another larger, energy-efficient home, and then turn this home over to another first-time home buyer or a second time, where they're getting into an energy-efficient home. And you'll start to see the housing stock of the existing homes that aren't energy-efficient not selling very quickly.
Right.
And that's that stagnant housing portion.